This episode of Obscure Chatter is brought to you by Cake. Cake. It's only batter until you bake it. And now, on to the episode. Happy leap year? Is that what's a thing? What's up, everyone? It is Obscure Chatter. I am your host, as always, Terri Doty. If this is your first time listening, welcome. And if this is not your first episode, welcome back. Whew! It feels like a lot has happened, and it both has and hasn't. There's been a lot of personal growth and personal da-da-da-da-da, but also just the world continues to catch fire. Little embers that we ignore continue to catch, and we just pretend nothing's on fire. It's fun, right? It's fun. Big thank you at the top of the episode to everybody that submitted questions and topic requests. I'm going to make that a frequent thing. I love when you guys get involved. We got a few through a new Google form that took me, I hope you think I took a lot of time on it, but I also don't at the same time. It took me the time that it took me. That's something that if you're curious about, please check it out, or just ask me on whatever social media you might be following me on. And if you don't follow me on a social media, you can always reach out for more information at perpetuallyoffbeat@gmail.com. And that's enough of that announcer voice, which is not what I actually do. No. We got some great questions. And I think we'll get to those toward the end, let's say, or maybe, let's go ahead and do the questions at the top of the episode. Steven, do you have a preference? Do you have a suggestion? Questions at the top. All right, so you guys can be like, hey, she answered my question, and just stop listening. All right, so we got a few. All right, so someone asked me my thoughts about Funimation going away. And when people ask me that, I'm very, very curious because you guys know that Funimation bought, or Sony or whatever, bought Crunchyroll, and they just decided to go with the Crunchyroll name. This is something I am saying as a contractor. In no way ever have I been an employee of any of these entities. La la la. Hopefully that covers me here. Not that what I'm saying is controversial. It's just, the people that were just like, it's the end of Funimation. Fuck yeah. Like, it isn't. It isn't. It isn't the gotcha that people think it is. I got the email just like everybody else because initially when I was still directing and writing occasionally for them, I had a free account with Funimation. So I got an email that's like, hey, do you want to transfer over your stuff to Crunchyroll? A Crunchyroll account that I in no way get for free from the powers that be. I was like, nah. I do miss getting free things. Another question was, do you get copies of the things you work on? I used to. And now they can get kind of expensive, but you pay for that. It doesn't even matter if you're the lead of a show anymore. You're more than likely not going to get a copy of it. You're going to buy it yourself. And so, I collect whatever I can that may or may not be risque sometimes, like buying a Takao from Azure Lane, like a beach figurine from like eBay. That had me terrified of how the condition it was going to come in and all that. But no, we don't get things for free anymore. And yeah, it really is that simple. But another question kind of related to, I guess, my job as well as just in general is, what do I think about live adaptations? Live adaptations can be good. And I think maybe this stemmed from like the One Piece live action, what was it, like 10 episodes? I don't remember. I've watched half of it and I loved it. I think the people that did it had a love for the show, and I think it showed. I think really that's all it takes sometimes. What was it? The Avatar, The Last Airbender. I know that that's another one that everyone universally hated, the M. Night Shyamalan one. Maybe even M. Night Shyamalan himself. And so Netflix did it, and I've been hearing mixed reviews about it. Personally, I have I'm just not, I think this pisses some people off. It's referenced all the time in auditions, like, hey, think of, this character from, like all this stuff, but a lot of people bring up The Last Airbender. And, I tried to watch it. I gave it my 3-episode rule, and I just couldn't get down with it. Friends that are fans are like, no, you gotta watch more than 3 episodes. Which I'm sick of. Side note, totally sick of this, like, oh no, just stick with it for like 5 sequels and then it's gonna get kind of okay. Fuck all the way off with that shit. I watch what you want. With books, if it's digital, I give it 20%. Physically, I'll give a book 60 pages of my time. If I'm not feeling it, I'm out. Like I've been kind of feeling that way with like every book that I've picked up with in the past couple of days. And then there are some, it's like, all right, this is too similar to something that we just da-da-da-da-da-da. But, yeah, live adaptations, interesting personally, like, or professionally and personally. There was, for those that may recall, I was in a little phenomenon called Parasyte the Maxim. I played Yuko Tachikawa, and I was so pumped to be a part of that show because I'd already been a fan of it as a horror fan, and I talk it up all the time. There's a cashier that I used to deal with all the time at Whole Foods that knew who I was, and she's like, hey, finally watched Parasyte. You should have died. Like, that's funny. Forever ago now, it seems. I don't remember when, but there were live actions for Parasyte. And I forget how it came up, but, a friend working on it was like, do you think you and or anybody else in the original English cast would be interested in coming back for the live adaptation? To which I'm like, let me check with some people. And I didn't know if because it wasn't a Funimation or Crunchyroll dub, it was Sentai Filmworks, High Dive, whatever you want to call it now. So, I think they just tried to make sure that it was going to be cool with everybody, and it was. And so I was very shocked that the movies, my character has a totally different storyline and everything, but it was my chance to work with a friend and see some old people that I don't get to see very much if they're local to Houston. And, yeah, that was fun. Can I tell you that I've watched it? No. What was it? There was an Assassination Classroom adaptation. I never saw it. What confuses me is whenever we adapt something and it's still almost completely computer generated, like what was the point kind of thing. And there are, adaptations that I don't mind, but then of course you think about the bad ones. Like I grew up watching Eon Flux. It's not a very long running cartoon, but it's stylized. Pardon me. And I loved it. I thought it was edgy. It was different. And rewatching it, I'm still like, oh my God, the voice acting here and da-da-da-da-da. It's gorgeous. So when Charlize Theron, was announced to do this, I'm like, okay. And I saw a trailer and I went, okay. And then I worked for MTV as a contractor local to the area for a little bit. I did a couple of gigs with MTV, which is, but at this point they were still very much trying to do movie, music tie-ins and stuff like that. But my initial job was to help get people to go see the movie and get their reactions, like those movie reaction things that they used to do. But that got canned very shortly before I was supposed to start, corralling people local to the area to go see it. And apparently just the people above were like, it's not testing well, so let's not do this. So they switched over to doing a reaction to playing the Aeon Flux video game, which was equally, I think, kind of meh. And it turns out, I think, like, just kind of by happenstance, a lot of people that I work with now were in that video game. But it wasn't good. It super wasn't good at all. I'd argue to say it was bad. Very bad. If it's on casually, still kind of won't watch it. I say kind of because sometimes you remember that Charlize Theron is still a very attractive woman. And Johnny Lee Miller sometimes too. And then you go, what's Johnny Lee Miller doing now? Anyways, but yeah, I saw Dragon Ball Evolution and that was like okay. But then there are good ones. Like I liked the Detective Pikachu. I liked it. Some people didn't. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, technically an adaptation. Casper did so well that they did a new animated series off of that. But yeah, X-Men. I remember getting into a giant fight with this kid Ryan in the 5th grade over how he thought there would never be an X-Men live adaptation. And I told him he was the dumbest person alive. And we literally didn't talk for 2 weeks because we had such a giant argument at lunch over whether or not an X-Men live adaptation would work. I'd argue that maybe we were both right. There are some good parts of those live actions. And then there are some, do you know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else. Moments. So, and then I won't even really I'll just casually talk about, I don't understand the wanting of the Disney live adaptations. For representation's sake, I do, but if you're just telling the story worse somehow, why? Why? But yeah, it's fine. They're fine. It really depends on the hands that they're in. It really, really does. Like the Flintstones. Could I tell you really what the Flintstones movie was about? I won't talk about the sequels, but I reference it all the time, and it could be because Kyle MacLachlan's in the first one, and I have a mild obsession with him, even present day Kyle MacLachlan. He's a very handsome man. Anyways, yeah, no, another question that we got. I think that's our last one. I've kind of interwoven a couple. Do you have any modern horror movie recommendations? And anytime you want to talk about movies, I mean, this is partially what the show was initially launched on, is I love movies. And I know that everybody loves movies. Even the people that I don't watch film. Bitch, you watch something. Okay. You do. Don't lie to me. Just don't lie to me. But yeah, for modern, yeah, I tend to stick to the 80s, 90s. I love showing films to people that I love. That was another big staple of starting this show, was someone shitting all over a movie that I loved, knowing that I loved it. It's like, what? Who was I harming by liking this and you not? My God. But for modern, I was like, would that be in the last 10 years or the last 20? So I thought about the last 20 years. And, I guess still on that, adaptation train. I really didn't mind the Thing prequel that came out in 2011 with, oh my God, Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I think that's her last name. She was Ramona Flowers. And she's been in a whole mess of other stuff since then. But I didn't mind it, but it is quite something. They put a lot of love into it, showing that they loved the original. But the thing is, it's so much more dated than the original. But I like what they did, and if you wanted to watch that and then The Thing, you could do that. And still be like, wow, how does the 1982 one look so much more modern than the 2011 one? I'm going to stick with that. But I like the way they kind of expanded, maybe rewatching that, you can kind of tell if Childs or McCready at the end of the original thing, blah, 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 blah. I could be spoiling a whole mess of shit for you here. Another, say, adaptation, or I guess a reboot or whatever, Fright Night. I don't really think it's very scary, but don't trust me when I say I'm not scared by something. That doesn't mean it isn't scary. That just means I'm more dead inside than you are. But Anton Yelkin, who was a phenomenal talent, and it like just thinking about him really crushes me sometimes. Like I was watching Along Came a Spider, and I forgot he's a little boy in that, and oh my god, like watching Only Lovers Left Alive, and he's in that. I think it was one of his last films, but he's in that. He plays the main character, and David Tennant, a goth David Tennant that's really cynical, like, hey. And shout out to Chris Sarandon, who randomly comes back. But yeah, I'd say one of my favorites right now is Final Girls. It's I think it came out. Okay, don't quote me, but it came out in the last 10 years, I think. Great film. And it plays on the idea that the horror genre, and it plays with tropes. It's really funny, but also there are parts that brought me to tears. Final Girls. Yeah, try that. It's got, oh my God, I don't want to butcher their names. So a bunch of people that you'll be like, hey, I know that person. And Steven and I quote like stupid shit from it all the time. Like, okay, if you haven't seen it, I'm not gonna do that. But yeah, Happy Death Day 1 and 2. 2 is fucking ridiculous because it really owns what people loved about the first one. But Happy Death Day is good. It's Groundhog Day plus Birthday. Hey, the Conjuring films, which are controversial for some people that view the Warrens as people that weren't honest and felt like they took advantage of people. Me, I don't know. I find the history of Ed and Lorraine Warren very fascinating. And yeah, there are liberties that the Conjuring films and the subsequent prequels, offshoots, spin-offs, and all that take. But I really liked 1, 2, and 3. 2 lower than 3. But the first one is still really good. But if you really don't like the history or what, the paranormal, it might not be for you. I used to be a lot more cynical about the paranormal world, supernatural world than I am now. But let's see, what else? Ready or Not is also really, really good. I mean, Ready or Not's great. Dr. Sleep, whether or not you're a big fan of The Shining, Dr. Sleep is really good. I mean, you got Ewan McGregor as an older Danny Torrance. It's pretty great. Total plug, but if you haven't seen one or the first one, Train to Busan, I'm in it. But not only that, I'm in the second one too as someone totally different. That's the great thing about doing live action dubs is you get to do things just you might not get the opportunity to do otherwise. It is a little weird that whenever you search my name, like Train to Busan, like the actual Korean cast members show up, and you're like, what? Why is Terri Doty there? So thanks to whoever credit me for those. But yeah, both of them, you'll recognize a lot of the voices. Steven, my husband, and the co-creator and engineer of this show. He directed it. So you'll hear a lot of familiar voices, but I don't know who wanted to go by a pseudonym and who didn't, so I won't name other people. That's always a good rule of thumb. Candyman. Nia Costa, I forget. She's amazing. She did The Marvels, which got a lot of unnecessary hate too. But it's great. You can watch that knowing nothing about the first Candyman, but if you do, you will love it more. Don't quote me on that. I just loved it more. Barbarian. Barbarian's really good. If you're a big fan of Whitest Kids You Know, it's written by and directed by one. I don't know if he was the only writer on that, but it's phenomenal. It's a movie that I can never watch again. Watching it once was enough, and it haunted me because I was really tired by the end of it, but this is me being very jaded. I couldn't go to sleep for a good 2 hours after because it affected me so much. There's a lot of trigger warnings in it, but you find yourself rooting for some pretty horrible things to happen to like the characters in it. You really do. But then Five Nights at Freddy's, loved. Even though it wasn't I do not have any information about the games, but I want to play them now because I loved it as someone who knew nothing about it and just looked up shit later. I love Josh Hutcherson, like my little short king. And I don't know if he's really short or if I'm just tall, but I love him. He's a phenomenal actor, and obviously I'm a big fan of the Hunger Games, but I knew him from like Bridge of Terabithia. I think he was in Zathura. A whole mess of stuff. Also the really fucked up show Future Man, which I don't think is streaming anywhere because it's that fucked up, but it's phenomenal. I like Josh. I like Josh's character in it, but it'll get certain songs stuck in your head, and it's really, really great. And practical effects in a lot of it, which is pretty cool. But the last one would be the Pet Sematary Bloodlines, which I lightly touched on in the last episode, where Steven and I kind of had some weird stuff happen to us during the flick. Willow, our dog, got really, really fucking weird. Willow got very, very weird in a way that she hasn't before. And then Steven could have sworn he saw someone like walking through the living room, like in front of us at one point. And then right after that, we lost time. We lost about 45 minutes of time. And I still, a few weeks after, really can't figure out what the deal was on that. I wasn't drinking. I haven't had a drink since like middle of October. No other things that are not alcohol. Nothing. Lost about 45, almost an hour of time. And it took Steven and I looking up the movie to remember what we watched because we started to forget the movie. We forgot we watched it the next day and then had to like watch a trailer again. And we're like, oh, right. And this happened. So we felt like it was kind of tied to the movie somehow. I don't know why. Maybe that sounds like unnecessarily like stupid, like spooky or whatever. Maybe it sounds dumb, but it was pretty fucking weird for us. Like, cause, like I said, I started out pretty cynical. I've just had a lot of things happen to me over the years, and that have made me be like, hey, I don't know everything. I just don't. And that was a weird one. So if you do watch it, let me know if anything happened to you. And if nothing did, I'm very happy. But it's the story. It's well before like what we know is the Pet Sematary story, whether or not you're talking about the 89 Mary Lambert directed one that focuses on the Creed family, or the one that happened, the reboot that happened. It was not my favorite. It's not my favorite thing. But so thank you for letting me talk about movies and adaptations and all of that. But there were also some topic requests. Oddly enough, someone asked me to kind of talk about AI. I think I've talked about AI a lot. But there was a moment I was doing my 6-month checkup with my dentist. I'm going to be honest. I might have already mentioned this, but going to the dentist wasn't really a big thing growing up. And by that, I mean I didn't see the dentist until I was 23 years old. And there's a lot of trauma associated with like hey, so feel like I should have gone to the dentist. But anyways, my dentist, he's our family dentist. Steven goes to him. My father-in-law goes to him. He is great. And like they know me by name. If I'm just there with like going in, if I'm just there like to hang out with Steven, they're like everybody's like, "Hey Terry," like that's how like small town it feels. But why do they always ask you questions? Like, but the dentist had his fingers in my mouth. He's like, "Hey, how's this AI stuff going for you?" And I'm like, "Well, get your hands out of my mouth and we can talk." If I had a nickel, I would have a nickel. But just kind of explained, how for both acting and writing, I have to navigate some incredibly tricky waters. And what was it? The thing that I saw this on Twitter, and I'm paraphrasing it now because I can't recall who posted this, but why is AI being used for creative services rather than being used to help just the tedious parts of being creative? I don't know, but it's rewarding mediocrity. It's bad. I do think there are good things, but I just don't like I had read, I don't know if this is true because I hope it isn't, but it wouldn't shock me if it was true, where AI, there are already people, making deep fakes of other people, like, "Oh, hey, here's naked photos of this person." That person gets so humiliated by these photos that are not actually them that they end their lives. I had read about this. I don't know. I can't, but I'm saying like that is something that we have to think about, where all of these things that could be helped by AI are not what AI is going to be used for. They're going to be used for not great stuff. And we are going to continue to suffer as a people over it. Do I want that to be the case? No, not at all. But I definitely brought down the dental hygienist and my dentist talking about the shit that we have to go through just as performers. And that's, those are honestly still light consequences to other people. But I've been really light on work recently. Honestly, as far as like Crunchyroll, which a lot of people know me from, I haven't been there since Halloween. I have not booked anything with Crunchyroll since Halloween. I have a lot of thoughts about that, but that's just also the nature of the biz, but a lot of the writing work that I'm getting offered, it's about machine learning. Like, it's about me training somebody or a machine to sound like me. There was one voiceover thing that I was contacted for is basically like you would be training this AI how to talk, but I would only have been compensated for the hours that I would be teaching it, and not eventually whatever the hell that AI would become. And I said nothing. I couldn't respond. I like blocked the person because I didn't know what to say. And I was mad. And so maybe it looked shitty to block them, but I think that was nicer than anything I was going to say to them. And I know that those people are just doing their jobs, but fuck you. Come on. And then my writing on top of that, I love being a writer. I really do, but I'm still burned out over stuff. So I'll only write in short bursts right now. And when I do, it has to be something that I'm passionate about, or I'm getting paid a lot. Not a lot, being paid like a livable wage. And that's just few and far between right now. And AI is partially responsible for that. So I had somebody also request that I talk about tax write-offs. I need more context. I really do. But what the great thing about being creative is you get to write off a lot of things. But then there are things that I have to try to convince my CPA are tax write-offs. She's like, "You want to write off a bra. I'm like, no, not any bra, like a really good bra, a bra that I only wear on auditions. She's like, you can't write off a bra. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I would never wear this bra unless I knew I was going out at an audition. She's like, is that the same case with this mascara that costs you $120? I'm like, yes. And I don't get to write that off, but I do get to write off like a little book that I found that I could be using for research in writing or just developing a character. So, home offices are nice. Like I'm in my booth right now, and yeah, being able to write that off is great. Let's see. Yeah, Valentine's Day happened. Steven and I actually, like, I think this is the first time we actually celebrated Valentine's Day. And really what it is it's celebrating the small moments. And, he'd never seen the amazing 2001 film Valentine. So, I got him a box of chocolates, which he'd never gotten chocolates before. So I got him a box of chocolates. We sat in our den and, popped in a VHS of Valentine that I got from Horror Freak in Bedford. And yeah, we watched a bad horror film. It was great. I highly endorse it. As Sam Houston High School's 2002 Sweetheart Classic Queen. That's right. It's me. I'm not lying. I was Sweetheart Classic Queen, of my high school, my senior year. Which I was so pissed because you did not get a crown. But, yeah, we got ourselves little goofy things. Like he got me a new mug from Untamed Ego, which I love mugs from them. And I got him a little peanut butter and jelly thing. Will got a little Valentine's Day squirrel that she still hasn't managed to destroy. I'm sure it upsets her. And yeah, it was also my friend's birthday, which I always try to think about him on his birthday. Like, man, a birthday on a holiday has got to be such an annoying thing. But also on the 11th was Steven's 46th birthday, and just made him a little box cake and took him to Forever Young, which he'd never been to. It's a great record store in the area. I grew up everywhere, but I got to do 6th grade all the way up to graduation in Arlington, Texas, and Forever Young was a big deal if you lived in Arlington or Grand Prairie, Mansfield, blah, blah, blah. So he'd never been. So took him there. We got a lot of CDs, and then I took him to our favorite Indian place, which is Tandoor, also in Arlington. Tandoor's amazing. And then aside from that, we just had a little marathon of Buzzfeed Unsolved because we love Shane and Ryan, and also love their new YouTube channel, or new, it's not really new anymore, but the We Are Watcher channel. Fantastic. The day before Steven's birthday, we gave Willow a bath, and he decided to clip her nails. And on the last toe, Willow decided to try to karate chop her dad, and that resulted in us trailing our dog as she's dragging blood all over the house. You heard a little gurgle there. Congratulations, maybe. She had to wear a cone. Oh my God. And she was like, what did I do wrong? Like, you're getting blood everywhere. Like, we finally were able to calm it down, but there were some really tense moments there. Like, I can't do this. This dog's going to die because she's just as anxious as I am. Ah! But, yeah, it was a lot of fun. I, gotta say, for those asking about an update, because I had mentioned that I had stopped drinking and that there was a question about my liver. My liver's doing great. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I stopped eating fast food. And by fast food, I mean McDonald's. And I stopped drinking. Again, I haven't had a drink since October, mid-October, but I kind of like rounded up to the end of October just for months or whatever. But don't miss it. I never at any point thought I had a problem, but I do know I have a history of alcoholism in my family. And just with any kind of little mention of the liver, I'm like, all right, maybe I'm done. And after going to the doctor, found that I had cut like, I forget what I would call like enzymes or whatever. Like I'd cut like a bunch of bad shit by like more than half. So, felt great. Felt great to see, like, the doctor actually showed me the numbers, and actually I had Steven go with me because, I found that as a woman, I often don't have my pain taken seriously by a doctor, even though I love my new doctor. So I've been taking Steven with me, and I typically get a lot more attention because I have someone confirming that I'm going through some shit. But also he keeps me honest because they're like, when was your last tetanus shot? I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like, was it in the last 10 years? And I said, yeah, definitely. And he looked at the doctor and went, she's lying. And so I had to get a fucking tetanus shot. Are you happy? But one of the, like, so we're talking about, hey, this was your physical for the year. So like, I do 6-month follow-up because of my thyroid and all this stuff. But we talked, this might be triggering for some people, but we talked about, like, hey, where are we with children? Because at one point I was trying and we did successfully get pregnant, but I lost that pregnancy. This is for people that may or may not be frequent listeners of the show. That's the nitty gritty of it. But that happened when I was at a con and I was taken to the nearest hospital. The nearest hospital did not treat us right. It didn't treat us right when you're going through one of the worst things you can go through. So that really traumatized me and Steven for a very long time. Like, only in the last few months, this was in 2019, only in the last few months have I really, really come out of a very deep fog about that. I'm caring about myself more in a way that I didn't realize I had stopped caring. It's very important to let anybody that is potentially going through anything remotely similar to me, that it's okay that you are not at 100%. It really sucked. So, since then, my OBGYN, my normal family doctor, they both know that I'm not going to try again. And they've never really questioned as to why. But some other stuff came up where, I have anemia again, which I was told I didn't have it, and now I do again. So the doctor, this might be TMI, but so is a lot of shit that we talk about on this show. She had asked about bleeding, and I said, yeah, like every month I feel like I'm dying. I really do. So we talked about potential things that we could do, and we're discussing right now just to minimize some bullshit and some really insane symptoms that are partially because of just being a woman that, has gone through a lot, and then also just with my hypothyroidism and blah, blah, blah. Anyways, long story short, we talked about birth control. It's like from my notes and everything, I'm remembering that we're talking about we're not having babies anymore. Like, no, we're not. It was too traumatic. And not just the miscarriage itself, but the way I was treated by the medical system. I cannot stress enough how much the bad bedside manner of a few people destroyed what, I had been really, really excited about. They destroyed a joy and left only fear. And fear very much left untested or unencumbered very much turns to hate. I hate the medical system. I really, really do. And it stems from the fear of ever being treated a tenth of the way that I was treated as I was going through one of the worst things a woman can go through. And the worst thing that I definitely have gone through in my entire life. And I've had a pretty colorful fucking history. So, we're talking about birth control options and, she's like, hey, like, don't decide anything today. But, since it's something that, we don't want to deal with again, that could help some symptoms, like just lighter periods and lighter cramps, all the lesser cramps. Maybe the mood will improve, which, hey, I'm all for that. So it's like, yeah, like you and Steven, which she got to meet Steven, and the two of them just talked about The Office way too much, to the point where I'm like, we are paying for this visit. But I kind of asked, she's like, do you have any like general questions? And I'm like, well, the Texas Hellscape. And she immediately started nodding her head. Yep. Like, so is birth control still an option here in Texas? And she went, yes. Preventing birth is still an option. She said it like that. And she's like, I have a lot of feelings that if you and I were just friends, I would really enjoy being able to be very completely honest with you. I will say, I'm not happy to tell you this, but should birth control fail you, there is nothing I can do for you. Should the two of you have an accident, I cannot help you if you do not want to carry that through. But I can also not help you if the pregnancy is not viable. If you are assaulted, even by a family member, I cannot help you. And what do you do with that? What do you do with that? What do you do with a doctor not being able to look you in the eye and say, if you are raped, there's nothing I can do to help you? But also, there are so many women here that I believe since they made all of these wonderful changes, all these old fucking flaccid men made these wonderful changes to our state, and Roe v. Wade is gone. I am not someone that ever was like, yeah, like if I was pregnant, I would have an abortion. For me, if I was in a good relationship, I don't know. I don't know what I would do, but I know that I planned to have a kid with my husband, and it didn't work out. I was in another state, lying on a table for 9 hours, being treated like a complete piece of shit while bleeding out, knowing that I had already lost my baby. And they didn't even want to confirm it. I flew home. And within just a simple examination, they're like, yeah, you're not pregnant anymore. It's not, we don't see anything. That was the nice version of what could happen now. Here, just at the hospital down the street from me, I had a couple friend of ours. They'd been trying, and they announced it. They tell us, for those who don't know, they tell us, don't say anything in the first trimester to anybody that isn't very close to you, because that is typically when we lose our, if we lose them, it more often than not, will happen in the first trimester, the first 12 weeks. Or 14 weeks, I forget. Don't say anything at the risk of, having to walk it back or be like, we lost it. It went away. So whatever it is. But a couple friend of ours, they were a little further along than we were in the process. They lost it. And they live here with us. And this happened, and they could not go anywhere. Because unlike me, where I passed my miscarriage and just had to be very uncomfortable in my home, they had to, it's called a DNC. They could not do one here in the state. They had to drive 10 hours to another state to remove tissue from their baby that was already gone. And it's really fucky that they're some of the luckier people. There are women that have died of sepsis. There are babies that just aren't passed. And these people have to carry them. These people that are already mourning the loss, they have to carry that loss around, figuratively and literally. And nobody cares. That can make this slightly less horrible. So Texas has very much let me down in a lot of ways. And having to just casually, my doctor was trying to be as professional as she could, but eventually got to the point where she's like, yeah, it's pretty fucked up, like a little bit as we were talking about it. Cause, I know I'm comfortable with her because I talk way too casually about some stuff. She knows a lot of that, but, I don't know how it gets better. And that seems to be a growing trend right now is, I know I've talked a lot about Palestine and just so many horrendous things that are going on. And it's like, well, what do we do? How do you see the sunny side? And I don't with a lot of this stuff. I love my life. I'm so grateful that I have a partner that gets me, that lets me be me. And I love him being him. I love having a home that, we don't pay an insane amount of money for. I love having neighbors that I've known for years. I love, going to Horror Freak and them knowing my name. I love going to Tandoor and knowing that, hey, it's a buffet day and we're going to get that awesome hot chai. I love my life. The little things too. I love just being able to read a book next to my dude while he plays, Legend of Zelda, and we're just chilling, vibing. I love that. But if I literally think about what's going on in the world, it's very hard to sleep. And I don't know anyone who's sleeping comfortably right now. Which means I'm hanging out with the right people. Anybody that is happy with the way the world is, I understand that you are a white man that has no problems. An old white man. But yeah, somebody did ask me about, the current LGBTQ panic going on. There's and obviously, there's a lot. It's incredibly interesting, the trans erasure that continues, and it's nothing new, which is, I think, odd for some people, because trans history, we had thousands upon thousands of books, texts, paintings, just historical, history destroyed over and over that erases or attempts to erase very real people. Being trans, non-binary, these are not new concepts. They are new to people that don't agree with them. I think we are at such a golden age of information that it makes people that are incredibly naive be like, well, whoa, when did this happen? It's always been here. It's always the person in charge of the text that gets to dictate what's noteworthy. And right now, we have Next Benedict in Oklahoma, who just passed because of a brutal beating, where they were not taken seriously already about the bullying that was happening to them. And they were taken home, and then the next day they just collapsed and they passed away. And Oklahoma is basically, I've had some great times in Oklahoma, but I can't speak for the state. But I do know right now the state very much looks very unwelcoming. I've seen a lot of lawmakers with ties to the libs of TikTok, and that there have been lawmakers that are, some of which are directly responsible for things that helped the people that killed Nex think it was okay to do that. Because in Oklahoma, it's you have to go to the bathroom that correlates with your gender assigned at birth. So I think that set Nex up to be attacked. I think that sets up a lot of people to be attacked. And what that very much bat signals up is Oklahoma does not want you here if you are queer. If you are anything other than what they deem as acceptable, you are not welcome there. I'm very much starting to feel that way about Texas, and I know I've talked about it a little bit here and there. This is my home. This is my state. I know I'm from Pennsylvania. I've lived in Texas most of my life. My family here is here. My friends are here. I make a living most of the time here. And the thing is, with the way everything's set up, I can't just pack up and go. Even if I made like a comfortable 6 figures, I can't just pack up and leave. And I am not directly at threat. So imagine you looking like a threat to someone who is just living their normal lives, and all this trans person, this non-binary person, like all they are doing is living their life. And you can't handle that? Are you serious? Them just also living and minding their own fucking business, that bothers you? I don't know. And it's again a case of, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I know that if you listen to the show, or if you just randomly happen upon me and you need any kind of validation that it's okay to exist in the form that you feel most comfortable in, come to me. I will give you a mom hug. I will give you a mom hug that's uncomfortably long to the point where you go, Mom, stop. Like, I get to live my authentic self. You should be able to do the same thing. It really is that simple. My God, why isn't it that simple? In all of these things. I'm at a weird point with a lot of this stuff. I really, really am. And I know, like, I was talking about babies, like the Alabama thing. I don't even know if I have the appropriate amount of time in a Pro Tool session to talk about how fucked up the Alabama bullshit is with, but we can discuss it at a later time. We sure can. I know that, and also, like, I believe that people should be able to live their authentic selves. I also believe in the separation of church and state. Like the Satanic Temple dealing with that hate crime where, someone destroyed their Baphomet statue in Iowa, and it was initially just charged as a misdemeanor, but they found out obviously who admitted to doing it, and they escalated it to a 3rd-degree felony, criminal mischief, I think. And like, it's like, oh God, can you believe this? Like, the Satanists want to be taken seriously. Like, I would argue that they're modern Satanists, because these people do not actually believe in Satan. That's the Church of Satan. Church of Satan and the Satanic Temple are different. Both of which are religions that aren't Christian. If you don't like it, just don't go. Don't go. You want to learn about Satan, honestly, go to church. I know so many loving, caring friends that their faith is a big part of their identity. I just wish that they were there were more people like them within those religions. The Satanic Temple, it was founded only like 11 years ago. And it's non-theistic, and they really just drive home the point. They want the separation of church and state. So As long as, people can have a big Bible outside City Hall, you should be able to have a fucking Baphomet statue. Yes, 100%. And I actually got a membership from them. Stephen and I both did. Because they also, if we're going to hide under the umbrella of religious freedoms, I'm agnostic. Stephen's an agnostic as well. But if I want religious protections, I was terrified for a while that I wouldn't be able to have the same treatment as a Christian counterpart of mine. So yeah, I got a membership, and technically, I guess I fall under the Satanic Temple. But really, they want people to, not talk about church in an official position. I don't think that's difficult. They just, they have 7 tenets. 7 tenets. One should strive to act with compassion and empathy toward all creatures in accordance with reason. That's number 1. Number 2, the struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions. Number 3, one's body is unviable, one's body is inviolable, subject to one's own will alone. Number 4, the freedoms of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. To willingly and unjustly encroach upon the freedoms of another is to forego one's own. Number 5, beliefs should conform to one's best scientific understanding of the world. One should take care never to distort scientific facts to fit one's beliefs. Number 6, people are fallible. If one makes a mistake, one should do one's best to rectify it and resolve any harm that might have been caused. Wow, I am a professional voice actor. But number 7, every tenet is a guiding principle designed to inspire nobility in action and thought. The spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice should always prevail over the written or spoken word. Did you hear any reference to Satan? No. You either get it or you don't. But I totally got what they were going for, and I love the efforts that they make to just help with the separation. But of course, along with LGBTQ panic, there's also satanic panic. Everything's back in fashion, isn't it? It's fucking wild. I don't understand it. It's a really weird time. It's a really weird time, you guys. For the record, no, I do not identify as a Satanist. Just for the record. There's going to be one person that listens to this show and be like, oh, Terri Doty had me until she mentioned that she's got a vigil of the fallen right over her bed. I don't know. And then, you could definitely have a whole conversation with me about the difference between Satan, the devil, and Lucifer. But that is something we definitely don't have time for. Yeah. So we talked about movies earlier, and let's since we're always winding down. Other movies, like the main one, like Stephen had never seen, was Valentine, and we got to see that on VHS. But the big one that I was really into was Hidden Figures. I had never heard, and that's the honest truth, I'd never heard of Katherine Johnson, Dorothy Vaughan, or Mary Jackson before, or their very, very important contributions to NASA. I thought it was great. It was interesting, the little liberty, but my God, all the actors, amazing. Everybody should check it out. When we went to Forever Young, we definitely collected some music. And I've recently been just going to physically collecting media, since apparently they're just grabbing movies and taking them off the shelf to just store away, like It was a really, I recently, like this is just like in the last couple months, that 28 Days Later is not available streaming and that they are making stores and anybody else that physically has copies send them back. I want to know what that's about. I want to know what this lack of physical media in releases, like that new Andrew Scott movie that the name is escaping me. There's not a physical release for it. What the hell? But yeah, so trying to collect physical media again, just pardon me, just in case. So yeah, more Linkin Park CDs that I used to have, garbage CDs that I used to have, TLC, which, so happy to have TLC again. Some Ramones, and then also just getting into like Santa Gold again, Metric, Mothica, Placebo, all good things, since we definitely enjoyed all that. But, yeah, and as far as shows, finished The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel this week. Everybody should check it out. Phenomenal performances by pretty much everybody involved. I've always had a soft spot for Tony Shalhoub, and Tony in those last 2 episodes really got me quite a lot. And yeah, aside from that, like books, I read the second part of Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross, which I didn't love as much as the first one, but it was good. The first book. And I got to read At First Spite by Olivia Dade, which I have a Fairy Loot copy of that. I'm very excited to have. I'm really trying not to escape into worlds of fiction, be them on the big screen, the small screen, or on the page, the book. The best kind of portable magic, according to Stephen King. But it's a lot right now. And you can go mad with it. Like, I got in my head a little bit when I realized with certain companies, I'm not getting booked as often as I used to. And it's like, maybe I'm alienating some people with all my posts. I really do think that it's in my head, but it's hard not to. And I think it does stem from like social media not being just things that you want to post. Everything's content. Everything has to mean something else. It's hard to, one, if you are doing it for that purpose, not feeling as though you're not always posting the exact right content, always kind of feeling as though you're failing upward. If people like it, they might like it for the wrong reason. If they don't like it, oh my God, you did it. Like, just post the way you would if the influence part of it didn't matter. I think that's just got to be my MO now. I have to post because I want to or because I feel it's important. It can't be because I feel I have to. And I can't not post something because I'm afraid of the consequences. It's just the way it's got to be now. For those that continue to listen, I really, really, really do appreciate it. I understand there was some very highs and lows to this episode. I can't tell you that everything's going to be okay, but I can hope that it will get slightly less shitty. I wrote this line in my one and only book, One of Few, and I found on Goodreads that some people have pulled the quote a couple of times, but it's a character called Crux, who's an alien, but the main character is going through some pretty horrendous shit, and not to spoil anything, but she's getting buried, and she is very conscious at this point. And as the lights begin to dim Crux says, take comfort in a light only darkness provides. And the story behind that was the way I used to hide underneath covers at night when you were scared. And for me, we always had like these really cheap polyester blankets and stuff. So when you cover your face and cover your head, you still see the patterns of the stitching from the light. And I always found myself fascinated by the stitching and whatever I was hiding from. I did find a way to kind of zone out and focus on the stitching. Therefore, the light that I could see was just showing me a pattern. I'm looking for the stitching right now. I see a little bit. I'm hoping I see more very, very soon. And I hope you do too. To be continued on that. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. As always, if you want to be a part of it, I highly encourage that. You can check out the form that is on a lot of our social medias, or shoot me a message at perpetuallyoffbeat@gmail.com for more information. Until next month, take comfort in a light only darkness provides.